Good morning, everybody. This is Nicky here at Yoga Marlborough in Blenheim, top of the south. I'm here today to give you some more tips and some inspiration for helping you through lockdown. And really lucky to have with me today the beautiful Rae Heta. So Rae completed her first teacher's training in 2004, and she's been teaching for 15 years now. In the first 10 years, she taught and practiced Ashtanga yoga, but now her yoga is a real mix. Vinyasa flow, hatha, a bit of yin and restorative. And her focus has shifted to strength, mobility, flexibility, and range of motion. That has moved her towards functional movement. So she's added CrossFit to her own training about 7 years ago. And in 2019, she traveled to Australia to complete her level 1 and level 2 MovNat certification. The combination of yoga, functionality of CrossFit, and the movement principles of MovNat, she'll probably tell me how to say that in a minute, make up my own personal training these days, or make up Rae's personal training. She continues to teach yoga, and in the last 3 years has been teaching small groups and one-on-ones, MovNat type movement. So she calls this the Movers Club. I probably need this. And we practice movements, they're practicing movements from the ground up. So the purpose there is to move as much of our bodies as we can in our everyday lives for as long as we can. So I think that's awesome. And we can all do with plenty of movement during this lockdown when we're at home. How are you doing, Rae? How's the lockdown for you?
Oh, kia ora, Nicky. I'm well. It's MovNat, by the way.
MovNat, okay.
Yeah, it's short for natural movement.
Beautiful.
The lockdown's good. This time, it was fine last time too. I'm lucky I work from home. So my environment didn't change very much. It just got a little bit crowded, in a sense, for me. But
what do you mean crowded? Do you mean crowded with
just
people?
having a partner.
Oh yeah.
It's only two of us, but cramp your style when you're used to having a house on your own during the day. But this lockdown, I was quite routine in the first lockdown. I was quite structured. In this lockdown, I chose not to be as structured. I had daily things going on, but I wanted to get a little bit more outdoors just for tiny bits during the day. That has worked for me really well. If I found myself walking in circles sometimes this lockdown, so whenever I found myself a bit discombobulated or out of sorts, I just went outside, and we live right next to the Taylor River. So I just did a lap, or I got outside, even if it was for a few minutes.
Yeah, we're lucky in Blenheim.
We are really lucky. That, for me, getting outside, even for a few minutes, changes a state. So I was pleased to be able to do that. And I don't know if I recognised that the first lockdown, but I did this lockdown. Mm-hmm. And I wrote down 3 things that I wanted to concentrate on over this lockdown, apart from the normal daily things, the work things. It was my nutrition, my sleep, and my finances. And no big thing, but it was just making sure that every day I did something around that. And that seems to have worked out. Yeah, they are. And I wasn't too structured about it, but it just gave me something to think about. And I write down things in the morning about what I want to achieve. And I made sure that those 3 things were covered, even if it was, do not go online and buy that pair of yoga pants that you've been obsessing over. Or think about it for a few days and then buy it. So things like that. It's silly, but it works for me.
That makes sense, because probably a lot of people possibly are on the computer a bit more and maybe tempted to buy things that they don't necessarily need.
Yeah, I'm not, well, certainly for me, but also organisations, people are right for picking at the moment for a bit of a treat, a bit of a reward, a bit of stress relief. Let's see how we can do that. Yes. And that is teaching. So the lockdown has been okay, but I'll be pretty pleased when we get out of it.
I hope it's soon. Yeah, I've been hearing quite a few people are struggling a bit this time and feeling a bit, there was a little bit of fun in the first one, and a lot of, people, I mean, I'm not saying it was easy for anyone in the first one, but this one came so quickly and people are so tired, and there's a lot of accumulation of stress, uncertainty, lack of being able to plan, separation from family, disruption to businesses, income. It just seems to be getting harder and harder to keep going, I think. But have you got some tips maybe that you could share with those watching our little talk?
Yeah. Well, firstly, it's a great idea, Nikki, and thanks for bringing me in on it. I just wanted to expand a little bit on the movement side of my life and talk to your people about how we live determines how we move determines how we live. And as I said, yoga's been a big part of my life and will always be a big part of my life. All the principles of yoga, including things that you do, Nikki, with pranayama and breathing, it's critical. Me, I'm working with mostly older people, but not always older people. And I've seen, as I get older, the more inactive we are, the less parts of us move. And when the less parts of us move, the more inactive we are. And our body will do things if we let it do things. So it will run a marathon if we train it to run a marathon. It will also run a marathon on the couch if we train it to run a marathon on the couch. It loves it. But really, our bodies are meant to move. And I noticed, a few friends had said to me in the past, gosh, it's really hard to put my shoes on. I have to lean against the wall. And it's really hard to pull my socks up. I sit on my chair and I never noticed that.
Yeah.
And my hips are really tight. And these are some people that have exercise in their life, but are still struggling with those sorts of things. And even worse, they're buying slip-on shoes, things that make our life easier. But things like slip-on shoes and slippers just end up in a result of you sore knees and sore hips, because our feet are our foundation and
don't have the right support.
Yeah, they need to move and properly in order to support the rest of us. And definitely there's no shorter research that will show movement is protective to our overall health. And I'm not specifically talking about exercise. And I talked to you, Nikki, about this yesterday. I've made this paradigm shift from exercise into movement. They're two different things. And believe me, if there's an exercise, I've probably done it.
Yeah, you're the queen of exercise, I have to say.
No, I'm not the queen, but I have done it all my life. I've paid.
Yeah,
like
you're inspiring.
Many people. Oh, stop it. Many people, we've fixed on exercise as being the thing we go away and do, or we put it into our daily timetable, we fit it in. And I still do that, but I also try now to slot movements into my day. And I do that so I can use all of my body.
Would that be like every hour, or?
It's just in daily life. So as an example, I've moved my cups and mugs onto the very bottom shelf. So I have to squat down to get them, which is not, there was no other fan than me in my family when I did that. But it means I have to squat to get them. And I have shifted the coffee plunger and the press and whatever else way up high. So I have to reach to get it. And the plates are behind the bowls. So I have to get in a maneuver to get them out. And it is the most inconvenient thing. But once I did it, and after a while, it was fantastic. And now I look for other things. So these are just daily things.
That's a really neat idea, because it forces you, I mean, without being too hard, it makes you think also, because you're thinking, oh, I have to go a little bit out of my way, and it reminds you why you're doing it as well.
Yeah. And the more we make things convenient for ourselves, the less we move our body in all the ways it can.
Yeah.
It's just, that's how our lives have evolved.
Yes.
And on the riverbank, on the Taylor River, it's a fantastic path, and they've widened it. And I try as much as I can to get off the path, because I want the ground to be lumpy and bumpy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want my direction to be determined by the path. So I try, that's a little thing. I'm walking anyway.
Yeah.
And if I'm going, and this is not everyone's thing, but I will get groceries. I'll walk, or I'll bike, or if I'm choosing to go to the gym, it's my rule. I either have to bike there or I have to walk there.
Yeah.
I'm not driving to the gym, exercising and driving home. But I did that for years until I began to think about these things.
Yeah.
And it is easy once you do it. But that's how I found little integrations. I changed, we have high seats, we have low seats, we have soft seats, and I'm often on the floor, which for me is, and you, Nicky, and you were yogis too, it's not a foreign thing to get on the floor.
No, and I find it really good. I mean, for myself, I quite like to eat on the floor, because also it means you're leaning forward to take the food. It's a far more conscious act, which makes you more aware of what you're doing. And you kind of put a little bit of pressure on your belly too. So it kind of reminds you of being conscious of eating for the purpose of nutrition, and rather than just eating and eating mindlessly. I think a lot of people eat and watch TV, or maybe talk a lot, or move around, multitasking, as we all think we can do, and we can't. So I really agree with you there, that changing, sitting on the floor, sitting on different levels, being mindful of our posture. Yeah.
Even hanging out washing becomes a problem for people who can't extend their arms.
Yeah.
And we're lucky here in New Zealand, most households can still have a washing line, but in the States it's becoming a problem, because generally there's no washing lines, there's only dryers. And particularly more so than women, and it's always going to be that way as far as I can see, they've lost the ability to reach over their head, is because that was a daily activity, hanging out washing. And heavy washing, heavy sheets, that's never been a problem for here in New Zealand, but now it's becoming a problem. And
I think this one above the head is, I notice it too. In Kundalini yoga, we do a lot where our arms are either here or up here. And that could be for multiple minutes, or even 10 minutes, and literally people will be shaking pretty quickly. They're just not, the nervous system's not used to it. Nothing's happening. Their arms aren't in any danger.
There's no need. There's no need to do that.
No.
And that's why you want to shift the things that you use a lot in your house, food items, cutlery, crockery, up high or down low. Because
you can do some decluttering at the same time.
Yeah.
Added bonus.
Added bonus. So that's getting on to those little bits. I don't structure them as 20 minutes or 10 minutes. I just look for everything. Carrying, we've got a fire, so it's the wood stacking, and many people will still be doing that in New Zealand. It's part of their lifestyle, but now more than ever, people are not doing it.
That's true.
And spending time on the floor. And this year I changed our bed arrangement, so we just have a really low mattress. It's just off the floor on a slab base, and that was purely because I wanted to be able to get low as much as I can, and that was just an opportunity. And it was time for us to look at a new bed, and it's took a while to get used to, but now sleeping in a sprung quite high bed just feels different.
Yeah. So just lots of different ways of thinking about it. I like it because it not only helps us move, but it also makes us more conscious and more aware during the day.
Yes.
You know,
and then you become more. Sorry, Nikki.
No, I was just going to say, because we quite often, our mind is not actually with us when we're doing different activities. We sleepwalk so often, you know, and from a yogic perspective, that's what it's all about, bringing ourselves back to presence and awareness and actually managing the situation we're in rather than being somewhere else.
That's true. I hadn't put those two together, but that's true, Nikki, because then I look for lots of opportunities. You're definitely right, I'm more mindful. And then you become that annoying reformed smoker that tells people how to sit down and how to stand up. I try not to do that.
No, I think you can just do things and people can maybe ask, why do you put your cups down there?
yeah. Just give me 10 minutes and I'll just rearrange your kitchen. I just wanted to touch on this briefly, Nikki, about aging and getting older. And what I try and do is focus on aging dynamically, which means being able to move for longer. But it's not that we can age dynamically, it's just that we live dynamically. So we put more movement into our lives. I also noticed, and I'm not sure if it's as I get older or I've become more aware of these things, older people seem to be becoming anonymous. Interactions with people, it's almost sometimes I feel older people are invisible and not important and lack any kind of potential or any desires or any goals and aspirations like every other person. And I was feeling frustrated with that. And one of the things that it's more of at a societal level, people are judged on is the way they move. So the person shuffling down the street or walking with a limp or can't hear that well, can't see that well, suddenly becomes of less value. And that's why I went to the MoveNet, because that seemed to be a series of movements, ground movements, a little bit of strength, lifting, carrying, moving, climbing, hanging, all of those things. So gripping, being able to get open that annoying jar yourself or carrying something heavy. They all came into my focus. And that seemed to be affecting older people that I knew. That's one reason why I started.
I love that, because it will give them more confidence, because unfortunately, I really agree with you. We're losing a lot of the wisdom and the great support and sharing we could have from people that have got a lot of experience, because like you say, maybe they're going a little bit more within and they're not feeling so confident and they're not moving as well, and people are not noticing them. So they don't feel like anyone values them. And yet we have so much to learn and so much to gain from listening to the wisdom of older people.
Also the value we place on, let's use movement as an example. In this country particular, exercise, we sort of more focused, in my opinion, on elite or high performance. And I love high performance. Everyone has an opportunity to excel if that's where they're going. But that's not where I place my value. My value is being able to live as well as we can for as long as we can, and movement is part of that. So there's no comparison. It's no less of value to be hanging out your washing every day or filling up the wheelbarrow with wood as going to the Olympics for the person that's doing it. It's no less of value to me. And if you can't hang out your own washing, that's quite a blow for you. And you're now dependent on something. So the movements associated with, I'll send you a picture, Nicky, so you can share it if you like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
In the summer, I like to go outside and do our MoveNet work, and we often use Pollard Park and we hang off the bars.
Mm-hmm.
And these...
I tried that once. It's quite hard.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
And it's hard to grip on.
Yeah.
And people have at different stages of that. But these are 80-year-olds, some of them. And if I think there's no reason why you can't hang off that bar. You just don't think you can hang off the bar because that's not what 80-year-olds do.
Yes.
That number is just a number to me. It's what ability do you have and what ability do you want? Well, I want the ability to grip onto things. Okay, well, you'll be hanging off the bar then. And you just grow into it. It's not, I don't throw people into it.
I love the idea too. It's the same concept with Ayurveda. You know, Ayurveda is, you know, the knowledge of your life, longevity, but it's not about living longer necessarily. It's about living vibrantly, living with health, living with purpose, you know. So this is a different approach to just literal age. So I think age is irrelevant in the end. But Rae, today, would you maybe be able to share a little tip or something that people could try at home?
Thank you. Yeah, so we do a lot around feet, which is not everyone's thing, I've discovered. When you think, why doesn't everyone love playing with their feet? Turns out they don't. But our feet are complex things, as most people will know. There's 33 joints in there, and there's over 100 muscles and tendons. And all of those have to work. We stand on our feet, we walk on our feet. Once we lose the capacity, then our balance, our gait, our hips, our knees are really compromised. So the try this at home tip is, and I called it, what did I call it, sending it to you? Rub them, spread them, uncover. Rub them, spread them,
rub them,
uncover.
spread them, uncover them. The feet are our foundation.
Yeah. So particularly women, myself included, have really cold feet. And if I can rub my toes, just like a little massage, for only a few minutes, and I try and do it every day and sometimes multiple times a day, sometimes no time a day, but it's in my mind. I've got to rub my toes and the joints crack and the toes crack, and that's all right. I just want to increase the circulation into my feet. If our feet are curled up, our toes are curled up, then the circulation is compromised there. So spread them is just spreading them apart, and we do that in yoga a lot. And I just bought, so I've got these silicone toe spreaders, which just wrap around, and they were quite cheap. But also these ones that you get if you go to get your nails done, they're easy too. And I just plug them in and put them on during the day. Then I stretch them out. And my feet are really widened, and which is fantastic. I love that they've got more of a foundation, a balance point, a base for me, and my balance is okay. My walking has improved for sure. So that's the rub them, and uncover them is I do try and get around in bare feet at home. I don't walk that often in bare feet purposefully. I'm not a barefoot kind of person, but if I'm at the beach or if I'm at a surface, I will take my shoes off just for a moment to walk on a different surface. And you can do that at home on the grass.
I think that's a beautiful way to ground yourself, you know, walk on the grass or walk on the dirt or walk on the beach. It totally energizes you, and it calms you as well.
It really does. It slows you down completely. Unless you're, and I'm going to say European because I heard them speak. They were running past at a pace, 3 guys on the riverbank, all in bare feet.
Yeah.
And they were flying and they were just chatting. So they were barefoot runners. But me, I go really slow when I'm on my bare feet. And you feel the ground.
Yeah.
You feel the surface. All your toes are working.
Yeah.
The soles of your feet. You're desensitizing the soles of your feet. That, as people wear shoes and you're in a clump and they don't bend most of the time, they don't move very well, they're quite narrow. That's all your feet feel. So your capacity of your feet to move in as many ways as they are built for, it just diminishes.
I love that. I get quite a bit of pain with my feet, and last year during the lockdown I had bare feet for sort of 6 weeks or whatever it was. Can't even remember how long the lockdown was, but I noticed after a while I was getting, I was almost couldn't put my foot on the ground because it was like bone sort of going into the ground, because normally you've got some padding with if you've got shoes. So yeah, it's definitely something to look after, and even a little massage before bed can make a huge difference for sleep.
Right.
We often teach people how to do self-massage in Ayurveda too, and that's one little trick that can really help. Rae, that's just been amazing. Can people contact? I'll put your contact information also on the email.
The email is the best way.
Yeah, in case people want to contact you, find out more, learn more. I really, really appreciate that today. I'm really motivated myself to do a bit more with my toes and my feet.
And now you're going to shift your cups and your
I
plates.
might, yeah, because I'm in the middle of a house decluttering project too. So that's actually maybe a good opportunity, because I'm going to get into those cupboards soon. So maybe I'll do that. Thank you again. Thank you, Rae.
Oh, it's lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, and
thanks for sharing.
You take care, and I'll put your information on our page, and we'll keep in touch.
And we'll see you in person someday soon.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, a cup of coffee very soon.
All right.
See you.
Bye.